You're listening to the School Leadership Reimagined podcast, episode 165. How do builders like us make a dramatic difference in the lives of our students in spite of all the obstacles we face? How do you keep your vision for your school from being held hostage by resistant teachers, uncooperative parents, ridiculous district policies, or a lack of time, money, or resources? If you're facing those challenges right now, here's where you'll find the answers, strategies, and actionable tips you need to overcome any obstacle you face. You don't have to wait to make a difference in the lives of the people you serve. You can turn your school into a success story right now with the people and resources you already have. Let's get started. Hey builders, welcome to another episode of the School Leadership Reimagined podcast. I'm your host, Robin Jackson, and today we're continuing our Summer Rewind series by rewinding back to one of my favorite episodes from the past season, episode 130. The original title of this episode was, Are You Selling Yourself Short? And this episode is really about this idea that it's just as hard to set and pursue a big goal as it is to pursue a little goal. And one of the things that frustrates me the most is seeing people set these little piddly goals every single year for their students and for themselves. You know, they say something like, let's try to get a 5% gain or 3% gain, or, let's try to not lose any percentage points when it comes to test scores, or, let's try to get a few more kids in honors or AP, or let's try to, get a few more kids reading at or above grade level, whatever that goal is. And every summer, people sit down in their school improvement planning sessions and they set these tiny little goals. And it's so frustrating to me because it's just as easy to set and pursue a little goal as it is to pursue a big goal. Think about how much work you're doing right now to get that 5% or to get that 3% or that 2% or whatever it is. You could exert that same amount of effort in pursuit of a big goal and find yourself much farther along at the end of the school year than you would be had you spent all that time and energy pursuing that 1 or 2%. Think about how you would do work differently. When you're focusing on 5% here, 3 or 2% there, then you end up doing stuff that I hate, like, let's focus on the bubble kids. Let's see if we can get these kids 1 more percentage point over. And you spend all this energy trying to keep students on the edge, crossing one side of the line to the other side of the line, rather than spending that same time and energy helping every single child be successful. And so I thought it'd be a good time to revisit this episode, especially as many of you are wrapping up your summer planning and you're getting ready for the school year, to challenge you to stop selling yourself short. Once you become a builder, then you're not satisfied for these tiny little gains that everybody else is satisfied with every single year. Instead, you want something bigger. And while pursuing something bigger means a shift in the kind of work you do, it doesn't mean a shift in the kind of energy you expend. I think that's really important for folks to understand. People think that in order to pursue a big goal, I have to work harder. I'm working really hard for the small goal, and so I have to multiply my efforts if I want to pursue a big goal. And it's not about working harder. It's about working hard at the right things. You see, if you're going to be working hard anyway, why not work hard at something that's going to give you exponential results? Not these little piddly 1-2% gains, but put in effort that actually rewards you for the amount of effort you're putting in. It's the biggest paradigm shift I see between leaders and builders. And so hopefully today, as you listen to this rewind episode, you'll also make that same shift. Now, before we jump into the episode, I do want to tell you about something pretty cool that we're doing. So many people have been reaching out to me and asking for help around their visions that we've decided to do a couple of bonus vision workshops. And our vision workshops are always free. And you can join the vision workshop. And the best way to know about every upcoming vision workshop is, of course, to join Buildership University for free. But if you don't want to do that, if you just go to buildershipuniversity.com on that page, you're going to find a pop-up there that will allow you to get notified about our next free vision workshop and give you the link to join. Now, here's why you want to join. So in that vision workshop, I usually spend 5 to 10 minutes at the beginning doing just a short training on how to write a builder's vision. The rest of the time I spend taking people on a first come, first served basis, and we get through as many people as we can. So it's good to show up early, because once you show up early, then I commit to serving you. But I take each person one by one and I help you work through your vision. So you can bring a vision that you're working on and I can help you rework it to make it a builder's vision. If you don't have a vision, I can help you start thinking about what your vision should be. And there are people who come once and maybe the first time they listen and just kind of think about their own visions, and then they come back again and bring their vision and get some help with it. Then they go back and think about it. And they may come back a third time. You can come as many times as you want. And every time you come, you get that individual one-on-one coaching and attention. Now, the only other place you can get that kind of individual one-on-one coaching and attention is inside of Buildership University at the paid level. So this is a great opportunity for you to get your vision statement done. So there's two ways to figure that out. First is, if you are already a Buildership University member, either at the insider level or at the free level, then every time we do a vision workshop, you get a notification. We let you know when it's happening. You're good. If you are not a member of BU, then you should join for free, or just go to buildershipuniversity.com to the homepage, and there's an opt-in there for you to be notified about the next vision workshop coming up. I do hope you join me. We're doing extra ones this summer so that you can start the year with clarity around your vision. And so without further ado, now that I've gotten that out the way and I've told you about that really cool opportunity, let's go back to episode 130, where we talk about why you should be setting bigger goals than you're setting right now. So let's talk about this thing today, because it's really bothering me when I see people working really hard and praying that it's going to make improvement. If you're going to work that hard, shouldn't you see something for your labor? But we often use the spaghetti approach to school improvement. So when I was a teenager, someone, I don't know who, they told me that if you wanted to know if spaghetti was fully cooked, then you should take some out the pot and just throw it against the wall. And if it sticks to the wall, it's fully cooked. And if it slides down the wall or doesn't stick on the wall, then it's not fully cooked. You got to keep boiling. Now, that is some dumb advice, right? You not only have easier ways, like just pulling a noodle out and biting into it to figure out whether or not the spaghetti is cooked, you create a big mess. But as silly as that sounds for something like cooking spaghetti, we do the same thing when we're trying to show improvement during the school year. And it's why so many of our teachers are burned out and overwhelmed. That's why we have initiative fatigue. We identify a problem, and we're not even sure we're identifying the right problem, right? We just kind of look at our data and say, that number looks bad. We should do something about that number. Sometimes we're even told you've got to improve reading, you've got to improve math, and you've got to improve like attendance or climate or something like that. So we just grab a number. We pick a random improvement, 5%. We don't even know what that means. How many kids is that? Why 5%? Why not 6? Why not 4? We don't know. 5 sounds like a good number. Let's try to improve by 5%. And then in order to get that improvement, we throw everything at the problem. Oh, well, I went into classrooms and they're not differentiating, so we need to differentiate instruction. And you know what? I've been hearing a lot about standards alignment. I bet we're not aligned. Nope. I went to a classroom, not aligned. We need standards alignment. And we do all of this work trying to improve. And at the end of the year, we're exhausted. We barely got the 5%, assuming we got that 5 or 8% improvement to even begin with. And then we got to do it all again next year. And as hard as it was to get that 5 or 8%, how much harder is it going to be to get another 5 or 8% or 10% the next year, and then the next year, and the next year again? So we're working really hard for very little payoff. And yet that's what we were trained to do. That's how we were trained. We go to whole trainings on how to write SMART goals. And we write these beautiful SMART goals, and we write these SIP plans, and we do these data dives and these root cause analyses. And it's not getting us anywhere. There has to be a better way, right? Shouldn't we, if we're going to work that hard, shouldn't we see bigger gains? Well, I remember hearing someone said to me once, and it really stuck with me. He said, it's just as hard to achieve a small goal as it is to achieve a big goal. And I thought about that because I'll be honest with you, my tendency is to dream small. I know that sounds kind of crazy given, the fact, if you've heard my story about how I quit my job, I know that sounds crazy that I would think that way, but it's true. My natural tendency, the thing that I have to fight every day is I dream pretty small. If I were thinking about school improvement, my dreams only go as big as my capacity, my current capacity. That's as far as my dreams go. And I bet many of you feel the same way. When I talk about 100% vision, people look at me and they say, that's nice. And some people even say, I wish I could do that. But they can't dream beyond their current capacity, their school's current capacity. And right now, if your school is barely, it's not even above 50% proficient. How is it that you can dream that 100% of your kids can be proficient? We can't see, it's hard enough to get to 50% and we're not there yet. How are we going to get to 100%? Or maybe you worked really hard and you've got to 70 or 80% proficiency and you are being lauded across your school district as one of the best schools in your district. But when you really are honest, you can't figure out how you're going to get from 80 to 100, how you're going to get that last 20% of your kids proficient because you're doing everything that you can or everything you think you can right now in order to get there. So I get it. My tendency is to dream low. I always set kind of low goals. Here's the thing. If you set a goal of 10% improvement, then you're only going to do the work that gets you 10% improvement. And so your pass fail line is really only at 10%. You're trying so hard to get to 10%. You often ignore the work that could get you beyond 10% because that's where your focus is. Now, people always say, but Robin, shouldn't we break down our dreams? I mean, we're not going to go from 0 to 100 in just 1 year. And you're right, you're probably not. But if you shoot a goal for 10% that year and then you hit 10%, then you've scratched an itch. Everybody says, oh, great, we've hit 10%. You have the party, you bring the cake, you celebrate. And then people relax. They relax naturally because 10% was the goal rather than 100%. Now, let's contrast that by the way that builders think about setting goals. Builders don't ever set 8%, 10% goals because builders don't have time for 8 and 10% gains. If they're going to work hard, they want to work hard for something that matters. They want to work hard for 100%. Remember, and this is true, it takes the same amount of effort to hit a small goal as it does to hit a big goal. Let's take my principal that I talked about just a few minutes ago. I mean, he was doing standards alignment. He was doing data dives. He was increasing rigor. He was doing targeted remediation. Well, he was doing that to get a 10% gain. He could do that same work, but shift how the work is being done slightly, no more effort, just a different focus to get to 100% and get more than 10% gains. Think about the work you're doing right now. If you're working really hard to get a 5%, 10%, 25% increase, that same work, if it's really valuable, if it's going to get you an increase, that same amount of energy could be spent pursuing 100%. And here's what happens. At the end of the year, instead of barely squeaking by with 10% or, woo, you got 11%, let's break out the party, you could do that same amount of effort. And at the end of the year, look up and you've got 15, 20, 30% gains. It is possible. I'll tell you a story about me. And this is a story about a time that I failed. But I remember when I was a high school English teacher and I wanted to increase enrollment in my AP class. This was back in the days of Gates. You probably have heard me tell that story before. And so I had convinced my principal to give me 1 year to open up AP to every single child who wanted to take AP. A lot of my kids came, they were unprepared. Some of them had never even had an honors class. We tripled enrollment. We went from 1 section to 3 sections of AP language in 1 year. And I would say the majority of my kids were not what you would typically consider AP material. They hadn't been groomed since 2nd grade. Many of them, like I said, had never had an honors class. Some of them had never made anything higher than a B on their on-level class. So not typical AP students. Now, not only did I have to get them in the class, I had to make sure they all took the test, and I had to make sure that my passing rate, which was fairly good, slightly above the national average, my passing rate would not drop. If any of those things happened, if my passing rate dropped, if I didn't get all the kids to take the test, then I would fail and we'd keep the gates up. So I set a goal not to maintain my passing rate because I wanted to do better. I wanted to prove something more than that. My goal was that I wanted 100, actually, I didn't even say 100%. That's a lie. I wanted 80%. I wanted to get to an 80% passing rate. My passing rate was somewhere around, 69, 70%. The national average was in the low 60s, 60% passage rate at the time. And I wanted to get to 80% passing rate. So 80% of my kids would pass. Well, in order to get there, I would have to do better than my cherry-picked kids had been doing on the AP test in years past. And so that summer, everything was on the chopping block. I had to reconsider everything about the way that I was teaching. And I did. Throughout the year, I was making adjustments because I had an 80% goal in mind. Well, my kids took the test. That summer, we got the scores back. My principal called me and I drove to the school and I'm nervous. Did we make it? Did we make it? And he handed me the envelope with a poker face, just nothing. And I looked at the envelope and my passing rate had gone up, but it didn't go up to 80%. So I'm devastated. I feel like I failed. I didn't hit my 80% goal. My principal looked at me and he said, "What is wrong with you? This is amazing. Do you know what this means? It means over 3 times as many students passed the AP test this year as last year. We're taking down the gates for everybody." So I started thinking about that when I was planning this episode. And I thought about, would I have done something different if my goal was simply to sustain the passing rate that I had in previous years? Now, I got higher than the passing rate in previous years, but I didn't get quite to 80%. And the answer is, yeah, I would have done a lot of things differently. I would not have pushed as hard as I pushed. I would not have been as focused as much as I was focused. And I would have been focused on the wrong thing if my goal hadn't been 80%. And even though I didn't hit my goal of 80%, I did far better than I believe I would have done had I set a lower goal. I beat the lower goal and blew it out the water. So what does that mean for you? Well, you can waste time setting 10% goals and you can work really hard to try to get that 10%. Or you can set a goal of 100%. Work just as hard. And even if you fail, even if you don't get 100%, let's say you fall short, you only get 80% of your kids at proficient, that blows anything else you've ever done out of the water. You see, as long as we stay focused on what's in front of us, what we think we are capable of right now, we might work hard, but our efforts look different because we're working hard to eke out a 10% gain. But builders say, if we're going to work hard, let's work hard for something that really matters. If I'm going to work that hard, I should be sure as heck getting more than a 10% gain. So what builders do is they say, yeah, we're going to work hard, but we're going to work hard not for a 10% gain. We're going to work hard because we want everybody at 100% of our goals. And then people say to me, well, I can't say 100%. What if I fail? What if you do? Even if you fail, you are likely to be far beyond that 10% goal. Let me give you kind of a concrete example. What if you set a goal normally of, say, showing an 8 to 10% increase every single year in the number of kids who are proficient? And every year you hit the goal or you miss it by just a little bit. And maybe some years you surpass it and you go to 12% proficiency. And that's been your ride. And then one year you decide, you know what, if I'm going to work this hard, let's work hard for 100%. Let's not just work hard to try to get another 10%. And let's say you fall short. You don't get to 100%. You only get to 75%. Well, if you looked at that 75% and compared that 75%, where you are with that 75% to where you would have been with the 10%, you're going to be significantly beyond what you would have set, that goal you would have set at that 10 or 8% improvement. So even though you fail, you still win. And that's the beauty of thinking about this the builder's way. You see, when you set a 10% goal and you don't reach that 10% goal, how bad do you feel? How embarrassed are you? You couldn't even get 10%. And some of you aren't even setting goals that high. You're setting 5% goals, 4% goals, 2% gains for the year. If you fail at that, it feels really bad. You know why it feels bad? Because you weren't shooting that high to begin with. You were picking a goal that felt doable. How bad do you feel? But when you pick a goal of 100%, you still work the same amount of effort, but the effort is different. Because the little strategies that we might play around with, like you know by now, I hate talking about quote unquote bubble kids. I hate that term. I hate the strategy. You know, that's a strategy designed to get you your 10%. But when you're focused on 100%, you don't even think about bubble kids. Instead, you're thinking not just who are the kids that are the easiest to move. You're thinking about every single child in your building, which means that you're putting in the same amount of effort, but you're directing that effort in a way that's going to get you bigger gains. But when you set a 100% goal and you fall short, even when you lose, you win. If you miss your 100%, you're still probably going to be further along than your little piddly 10% gains that you were thinking about doing, or your 8% gains, or your 5% gains. When you shoot for 100%, that's when you start posting 15, 20, 30% gains every single year, because you're focusing on the right work. You're not thinking about how do I play with numbers so that I can eke out 5 more kids being successful. Instead, you're thinking, all right, how many kids are still not successful? And what do we do for every single child? It is just as hard to pursue a tiny goal as it is to pursue a big goal. So if you're not changing effort, if it's not any harder to pursue a big goal than it is to pursue a small goal, why are we wasting time on these little teeny goals? Why aren't we focusing on those big goals? Why aren't we putting our efforts behind achieving 100%? If I'm shooting for 100% and I fail, it doesn't feel nearly as cruddy as if I was shooting for 5% and I fail. If I can't even get 5%, how bad am I? But if I'm shooting for 100% and I fall short this year and I only got 15% closer to that 100%, then I say, okay, let me go back. Let me figure out what works and what doesn't work, because I'm still pursuing that 100%. And next year I've learned something. So next year I can get even greater gains because something's working. Stop wasting your time on these little piddly goals. You are going to work hard anyway. Work hard for something that matters. I mean, that's one of the things that we do at Builders Lab is we help you figure out what that 100% goal is. We help you take the complexity, because the other reason why people don't like those 100% goals is because you're thinking, like, I don't know how to get there. Well, of course you don't. You're just starting. But one of the things that we show you at Builders Lab is we show you a process that helps you learn and evolve and grow. And every 90 days, you get another victory. Every 90 days, you get closer and closer to your goal. So you're not waiting till the end of the year. You're hitting a milestone every 3 months. And you're sitting back and you're learning from that, and you're getting better and you're making tweaks. You know, instead of, kind of setting a 100% goal and making it aspirational, then going back and doing what you've always done. At Builders Lab, we show you how to do things differently. We show you how to first of all, set the right goal. And then we show you how to get rid of all the things that are keeping you from your goal. So you start knocking out constraints. We help you figure out what is the right constraint to knock out this week, this month, this 90-day period, so that every single 90 days, not only are you hitting a milestone, but you're removing another obstacle that makes it easier to get to your goal, because you're getting rid of the things that are keeping you from your goal. That's the difference between the way that you were taught to do as a leader and the way that you ought to do as a builder. And so this week, my challenge to you is this. I want you to be honest about the goals that you've set for yourself. Really honest. I want you to think about whether or not you are cheating yourself and your students by aiming too low. A lot of times I don't set big goals because I am afraid to fail. If I put it out there that this is my goal, if I say it aloud, if I don't reach it, then I'll feel like a failure. And I want you to rethink that as well. What if you don't reach that goal this year, the big goal this year? What if you fail at a big goal? Well, you're still better off. I'd much rather fail at a big goal than hit a small goal, but realize that there's still so many kids that I'm not serving. I'd also rather fail at a big goal than fail at a small goal. I mean, how bad do you feel when you can't even hit 5%? Well, it's not you. It's not because you are inept and incompetent. It's because your goal was too small, and your efforts to achieve your goal are constrained by the size of your goal. If you dream 5%, you give 5% effort. You do work that will get you 5%. If you dream 100%, you do work that will get you to 100%. Both are work. Both take effort. One has a big payoff. One has a piddly little payoff. So I want you to think about your goals this week and ask yourself a question. Am I working hard for a goal that's too small? Should my goals be bigger? I'm still going to work hard, but why not work hard in pursuing something bigger, better than anything that you feel like you're capable of right now? Because what I do know is that when you set big goals, you up level, your skill set up levels to meet the size of your goals. When you set small goals, your skill level is constrained by the tininess of your goals. If you're feeling like, but I can't even hit 5%. Well, if you're not going to hit 5% anyway, you might as well fail at hitting 100%, right? If you're going to fail anyway, why not fail big? Why go home and say, I can't even hit 5% versus going home and saying, I tried to get 100%. I only made 15% this year. You're still 3 times better off than if you had stayed with that 5% goal. And when you fail at 100% goal, it just gives you more energy to try harder. When you fail at a little goal, you feel defeated because it was already so small. There is no room to get better. You're just, if I've already set a 5% goal, what am I going to do next year? Set a 1% goal? How bad do you feel? Go ahead and pursue the big goal. If you're going to work hard, make it count, make it matter. And here's what I do know to be true. Every time I set a bigger goal, I start rising to the occasion of the goal. The goal pulls the best parts of me out of me as I try to pursue that goal. The same thing will happen for you. And if you need help with that, then I want to encourage you to come to the next Builders Lab, because part of what we do at Builders Lab is we work with each and every person at Builders Lab to help them set a better vision for their school. We don't play around with these 5 and 10% gains. You don't have time for that. What we do is we help you think about, what do you really, really want? You want 100%. You want all your kids being successful. And it's not unrealistic. It's not unreasonable. People will tell you that, but it is not true. You can get there. And then the rest of Builders Lab, we help you figure out how you're going to get there. We show you the way to get there, so that you don't just set a goal and pray and hope. You set a goal and get to work. And then you start to get that first big win in the next 3 months after Builders Lab. You start to see real, significant, meaningful progress. It works. That's why I really want you to come in January for our Builders Lab, because it's not too late for you to get a big win this school year. And I want to help you figure that out. So this week, my challenge to you, ask yourself, are your goals too small? And then take the risk of setting a big goal. You're going to be working hard anyway. And it's just as hard to achieve a little goal as it is to achieve a big goal. So if you're going to have to continue to work hard, you might as well work hard at something that's going to actually feel good when you actually achieve the goal at the end. You might as well work hard at something that gives you bigger gains than your little teeny goals are going to give you. This week, I want you to just up-level your goals and then start pursuing those goals because you can't lose. You can't lose. If you fail, you win. You're still further along than you would have been for a tiny goal. And if you win, you win. You've hit a big milestone. You've proven that you can actually do it. Either way, you walk off as a winner when you set big goals like a builder. I'll talk to you next time. Hey, if you're ready to get started being a builder right away, then I want to invite you to join us at Buildership University. It's our exclusive online community for builders just like you, where you'll be able to get the exact training that you need to turn your school into a success story right now with the people and resources you already have. Inside, you'll find our best online courses, live trainings with me, tons of resources, templates, and exemplars, and monthly live office hours with me, where you can ask me anything and get my help on whatever challenge you're facing right now. If you're tired of hitting obstacle after obstacle and you're sick of tiny little incremental gains each year, if you're ready to make a dramatic difference in your school right now, then you need to join Buildership University. Just go to buildershipuniversity.com and get started writing your school success story today.